Hey everybody, so in this video I want to compare and contrast the new Diatone GT-R90 to the SPC Maker 95 GF, and I kind of want to go over something kind of important as to, so this was a question that one of my viewers was asking about, why would anyone want to buy the 95 GF when the Diatone comes in at a lower price point and has better components, and I'm going to cover that in a little bit here. First of all, the subscriber, the viewer, he's absolutely not wrong in asking that question. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually like the 95 GF a lot. It was my micro of the month in September, but that was 2 months ago, and things have evolved since then to the point where now the Diatone here is really the one to get. Now, it's November the 10th now, and it hasn't actually hit Banggood yet. It's supposed to come out in the next week, and if you have the money to only buy one micro, you have to get this one. You have to get the Diatone. Don't get the SPC Maker 95 GF. Yeah, I like the way this thing flies, but for the money, you should get the Diatone. And let me explain why. If you just compare these head to head on components, so they both have micro CCD cameras, the Runcam Micro Swift, and then this is a generic off-brand here, and the Diatone. And image quality, pretty comparable, pretty similar. I couldn't say which one's much better than the other one. In any case, both of them are much better than the CMOS cameras, so basically it's a wash for both of these. The motors are, well, they're both good on both of them. You got some SPC Maker 7500 kV 1104s. They're made by, they're rebranded Sunny Skies. Very good motors, very battery killer hungry. They draw a lot of amps and will make your batteries really hot. On 3S, you need a very good 3S battery to fly this. And at 7500 kV, it does spin faster than the 1104 6500 kVs on the Diatone. Also Sunny Sky motors. These are the Edge Racing Sunny Skies. But you only get that top end or top end speed at the maximum throttle. So you know, how often do you fly at 80 to 100% throttle all the time? I don't know about that. You get better for racing. I think you get better throttle resolution on the lower throttle, especially on 3S. And the other benefit of going to the lower kV 6000 kV motor is that the Diatone can run on 4S. This one here, I'm pretty sure something's going to blow up if you fly this on 4S. The motors get pretty warm on 3S. On 3S, on these motors here, they don't even get that warm. They're just a little bit warm. Even on 4S, they don't even get that warm. So I think these motors are better. So definitely the motors are better on the Diatone. Now if you look at the electronics on the inside, the 95 GF has 10 amp 4-in-1 ESCs, and the Diatone has 15 amp 4-in-1 ESCs bursting to 20, so the Diatone is better there. The flight controller on the GF is a F3 Omnibus with an OSD, you know, very good, no complaints there. However, the Diatone comes with a much better, it's called the Fury F4M, it's a micro F4 flight controller with the Betaflight OSD, of course, and it also has a 32K capable gyro, which is why this is soft mounted, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. So the Diatone definitely wins there as well. Then if you look at the video transmitters, they're both power switchable. The GF does a 25 to 200 milliwatt power switching video transmitter. It's a pretty good video transmitter. I have no complaints about that, other than trying to set your channel and band is kind of a pain on this one, and also setting the power is also very difficult playing with these buttons. Now the video transmitter on the Diatone is the TBS Unify, hands down the winner here. Much better video transmitter than on the GF. It's a power switchable from 25 to 800 milliwatts, and of course the number one feature here is the smart audio. You can set your bands, channels, power, all that in the Betaflight OSD, which is a huge plus here. Now the Diatone does not come with a receiver. You do have to add a receiver. It doesn't come with a battery, and it doesn't come with a case. whereas those things do come with the GF. So if you need to have a carrying case, or if you want to have a receiver pre-installed, then of course then you should probably go with the 95 GF, but you know, you gotta then consider the extra cost. The Diatone is going to cost $170. I think that's the current price that I'm seeing on Banggood. The 95 GF on Banggood is about $200. So you're paying for 2 extra batteries, a case, and a receiver for that extra about 30 bucks. Plus you're paying for components that are actually older and not as nice as the ones on the Diatone. So obviously I think in that case the choice is clear. You should go for the Diatone. Now the Diatone comes with these props that I didn't like. They were like these bullnose, they're kind of like the DYS 2030s. They're kind of in-house made, and I actually broke all of mine on a crash. So I ended up having to switch to the Jump Van 2040s, and they fly totally fine on the 2040s. And I did a tuning video on this prop, and if you want to see that video, you can get my PIDs and all that for this tune. It flies great on 3S with this prop. But you know, switching a prop is, you know, not a big deal. Most of the time you're going to switch to your favorite prop anyway. You might like this prop, or you might like the Jump Van 2035. That's not a big deal. I don't consider that a drawback at all. So another couple of drawbacks here on the 95 GF here is that out of the box it didn't fly well. I had to make some modifications to get it to fly well, and it has to do with the flight controller being hard mounted and the motors being hard mounted. So I soft mounted the motors, and I got rid of the D-trim oscillations so that I could actually fly it. And then the other issue was the fixed camera angle. This is not stock here, this camera angle, or this camera mount. This is a 3D printed camera mount that I added after the fact. The stock configuration is 2 standoffs here, and then there's a piece of carbon fiber that's underneath that sets the angle of the camera, and it's pretty low. It's like maybe 15-20 degree camera angle, so not very much, and I like to fly with more. And this is why I prefer frames like the Diatone here, where with the 2 sidebars here you can pretty much adjust your camera angle at will. And whereas even in this situation here, this is, even with this 3D printed mount, it's totally fixed. I'm stuck with this camera angle. If I want to fly slower, I could then adjust my camera angle down to a more level, or if I want to fly faster, I can adjust it up, get more camera tilt, and I can do this while I'm in the field very easily. And that's one of the advantages having this design here versus this one here. Okay, so if you're considering some of the other SPC Maker models like the 90NG, the 110NG, or some of the other ones that don't have the micro CCD camera, I'd strongly consider the price. And if you find across the board the SPC Maker models are costing quite a bit more, and for example, I believe it was like the one of the models without, I think it was the 90X or the 95X. I forget which one it was. It cost almost as much as, it was like $168, almost as much as the Diatone, but it came with a CMOS camera, an F3 flight controller, and just lower quality components all around. And basically the only advantage is you get 2 batteries, which are so-so, and a case and a receiver. And I don't think that is actually worth it for any of those models, just because you want to get a case or a couple of extra batteries. I think you can just get those on your own anyway. So if you're considering some of the other SPC Maker models, look at the cost, compare it to the Diatone and the components, and you'll find that the Diatone will pretty much beat all of those models hands down. Additionally, some of these SPC Maker models have serious problems out of the box. As you probably saw from my previous video on the 90NG, that one was unflyable out of the box, and I actually had to swap all the components out of that frame and put it into this frame here, the Hummingbird frame, to get it to fly. Now, once I swapped all of the parts into this frame, this flew actually really well. And so it's not that SPC Maker has bad parts, it's just that the cost of their drone built and the build quality is questionable. So the 90NG is actually really expensive. It's like $285, I believe. Yeah, it comes with an F4 flight controller with a 32K capable gyro and 28 amp 4-in-1 ESD, which is very similar to the Diatone. But this model here is almost it's more than $100 more than the Diatone, which is really crazy. And so why would you pay that much more just to get a couple extra batteries, a receiver, and a case? That doesn't make any sense. So, I made the video on the 90NG where I transferred everything to the Hummingbird frame to basically give the people who bought the 90NG and weren't able to fly it an option to put into something else so that they could fly it. And really, it comes down to soft mounting the F4 flight controller that has the 32K capable gyro. Any of those F4 flight controllers are going to be very sensitive to vibrations in the frame, motor noise, unbalanced propellers, that kind of thing. So what Diatone did in their design, and I'm going to make a separate video on their whole frame because what they've done with the frame is really innovative. But just on the flight controller, you can see here they've got these grommets inside the flight controller, and the way this is mounted is completely soft mounted, and it's actually kind of floating. I can actually move this around a little bit, and because of that, any kind of bent props, unbalanced motors, any kind of vibration in the frame does not get into the gyro. So I have no D-term oscillations like I did with the 90NG. This flies totally fine out of the box and had no issues with tuning at all. So the bottom line is, if you're thinking about getting a micro, I would wait and get the Diatone. And I know you're probably looking at all these videos are coming out on 95GF and some of the other models from SPC Maker. Don't get me wrong, the models are good, but I would say that they're limited in terms of the components being good. The builds are kind of questionable now. I think that they haven't really designed their frames and the way they put the components together with actual flight experience. So I don't think anyone is actually flying these. Like, they just build them based on like, oh, these parts should go well together, the frame should go well together, it looks good, but I don't think that, like for example on the 90NG, they put it together, but no one test flew it, and so when I tried to fly it, it wouldn't fly. And I had to rip the whole thing apart and put it into a different frame and actually construct it in a way where it actually accounts for the gyro sensitivity on the F4 flight controller so that it could actually fly, and take all those things into consideration. So if you're just buying something, you don't want to deal with all that hassle. You just want to buy it and fly it, and that's what you want to do with the Diatone. Whereas, if you get something like from SPC Maker, you can definitely fly it, but you're going to have to do some work. And if you're going to have to do some work, you might as well just build it at that point. So that's just basically my conclusion to this video is, if you're considering getting an SPC Maker, think about what you want to do with it and how much work you want to put into it, because they are flyable, they have good components, but you're going to have to do some work to get it to fly, and the cost is going to be more than the Diatone, where the Diatone is basically flyable out of the box. And I'm hoping that they're going to use the PIDs I sent them. I don't know if that's going to be the case in the early shipments, but they've told me that they've taken my PIDs and test flew them. So hopefully you'll get some PIDs that'll actually be very flyable on 3S, and that's the goal. Anyway, you guys, that's going to do it for this video. I think I've blabbered long enough. Let me know if you guys like these kind of videos and kind of comparisons like this. If you do, give me a big thumbs up. If I get a lot of thumbs up, I'll continue to make more videos like this, and hopefully this kind of information is going to help you guys make a good buying decision for your micros.